YouTube camera equipment video, scene 1, take 3. Hello guys, welcome to the workshop. In today's video I thought it'd be interesting to go through some of the camera equipment that I use to create my YouTube videos. From right at the very beginning, a couple of years ago when I first started making videos, what I used back then, and some of the newer cameras that I've now got, right up until an unboxing that we're going to do of a camera that's just arrived, and show you what I've been using, some of the techniques, and hopefully you might find it interesting and useful to yourself if you want to create some YouTube videos. I will put a little disclaimer in there though, I'm purely just an amateur at this. I haven't done any professional photography at all, so everything that I've learned has either been self-taught by watching other people's YouTube videos or from research that I've done myself on the internet. So this is not going to be a professional camera tuition video. I'm just going to be showing you what I use to produce my videos, and that may help you decide on what you're going to use to do yours. You really don't need some really expensive camera equipment to get started on YouTube and to produce some really good videos. I would say 95% of the videos that are on my channel are shot just using a smartphone. In my case, I've got an old iPhone 5 SE. I like it because it's small and compact. It fits in my hand. I can use it with one thumb. I don't have to hold it in two hands. It's compact, fits in my pocket nicely, and it just works. So I've kept hold of it. I've actually had a couple of these. I dropped one and smashed it, and then went and bought another second-hand one because I liked it so much. It's got a 12 megapixel camera, which means it will shoot in HD. 12 megapixels is 4,000 pixels by 3,000 pixels in a square format. So this will shoot 1080p video at 60 frames a second, which is more than enough for internet use and YouTube use. 1080p is high definition, so the picture quality is really good, and 60 frames a second is brilliant if you want to slow down stuff to create those cinematic shots. And also if you want to zoom in to a shot, you know, if you've got it in HD, then you can zoom in a little bit and you still don't lose that resolution. So for me, you know, it was more than ample for YouTube use. And a lot of my early stuff, which is shot in the workshop, it didn't really need to be terrifically detailed in terms of resolution. I was fairly close to the camera, and a lot of the stuff was actually uploaded in 720. It wasn't even uploaded in 1080. That means that the file sizes are smaller. My upload size is smaller when I want to upload it to YouTube, and then when you guys are watching it, the download speed isn't affected because the video quality is lower, so the bit rate for you to download and stream stuff live is better as well, so it's not buffering all the time. And for most of the stuff, I think probably 70 or 80% of the stuff that's on my channel is only shot at 720 for those reasons. I think the only difference would be if you was doing our European tour and we were somewhere really scenic and I wanted to get that epic sort of wide angle shot of lovely scenery, then yeah, it would be better in a higher resolution. And if some of you guys are watching on these big screen TVs, then again, yeah, that would be better in a higher resolution. So of recent, and some of my later videos now, I'm starting to upload in 1080p. I don't really feel the need to go to 4K yet. Most people are watching on smartphones or smart devices, large screens. A lot of people haven't got 4K TVs yet, so they're still only watching in HD anyway. So the equipment that you're watching with doesn't have the capability to view 4K video, so there's no point me shooting in 4K. The file sizes are massive. It takes a lot of processing power to edit 4K video, so it's really not worth me venturing into that at the moment. So really, if you want to start out as I did, just pick up your smartphone and just use that. It's got a terrific camera on there, really good colour, and it's more than adequate in terms of resolution for doing YouTube videos. Now in terms of setting up shots originally, of course you can just hold the phone in your hand and video like that, and you can obviously video what you're looking at, but it kind of limits you to what you want to do. So I was lucky, Lou's dad lent me this tripod that I had initially. I didn't have anything to mount the phone to the tripod. I had this tatty old case that I've still got. So all I did simply was go into the workshop and I just made myself a phone holder for the tripod. I glued a couple of bits of plywood together. I glued a bit of hardwood. I think this is a bit of mahogany on the bottom, so I could put a thread in there that would hold the thread on the tripod. The camera just simply slipped into there and it was adequate enough to hold the camera, and then I could just screw this onto the tripod, and it's as simple as that. You know, I didn't need anything fancy or anything expensive. It was a fairly cheapish sort of tripod that we had, and there you can see I was able to put my phone in it and then, you know, use this obviously to give me some still shots while we were in the workshop. And pretty much, I would say 95% of our build video when we were building the Sprinter was shot on this phone using this tripod and my handmade phone mount. So I mean, that just goes to show you, we've built the channel up from nothing using the most basic of camera equipment. So you really don't need to go out and buy expensive equipment to have a YouTube channel out, or to grow your channel and to put decent videos together. So that's how I started. Now, in addition to this, what I found was if I'd got the phone in the workshop and it was quite a way away from me, 2 or 3 meters away from me on the other side of the workshop, then the audio quality wasn't the best. Because you're that far away, obviously it's a lot quieter and the phone doesn't pick up your voice as well. So one of the first things I bought to add to my video equipment was this little lavalier mic. So here, clipped onto my t-shirt here, it's a little remote microphone. Excuse me if that's making some funny noises. It's on a little lead. At the moment it's going down through my t-shirt across the workshop, and it's actually plugged into my other iPhone 5S. I've got 2 of these, as I said. So I'm actually videoing this with my other iPhone, and I'm demonstrating it obviously with this one. So plugged into the microphone socket on the iPhone that's videoing us now is this little lavalier mic, and then that just simply clips onto my t-shirt. And then what that does is that gives me very clear sound, very close to where I am now. So the video quality is still fine, and now the audio quality should be good as well. And what I'll do is I'll record a little bit with the mic, and I'll record a little bit with the phone without the mic plugged in, and you'll be able to tell the difference. So this is with the microphone plugged in, and this is without the microphone plugged in. So this is with the microphone plugged in, and this is without the microphone plugged in. There you go. So I hope you can see that there's a noise level difference. So obviously the microphone that's plugged in right next to me here is a lot clearer and a lot louder, and then with just the phone on its own, that voice is attenuated by the distance. It's quieter and the sound quality is not as good, and obviously it will pick up external noises that are local to the phone rather than local to me. And as well, the microphone that's embedded in the phone is probably not as good a quality as the microphone that I've got clipped to my t-shirt here. Now these are very cheap. I think this particular lavalier mic I think was about £30. You can obviously pay for a lot more expensive equipment and probably you'll get better sound, but I think for what I was doing this was adequate. Now going on from the iPhones, another camera that I had, which we've had for a little while now, is the GoPro. This is a Hero 4, so as you can see it is a little bit old. I think they're now up to 7 or 8. I lose track of the development of these things. I bought this a couple of years ago, actually when we was going on holiday, because I wanted a camera that I could use as an action camera. I wanted one with a wider field of view, and at the time, you know, these were the best camera to have for that kind of thing. I've used it a few times. We used it a couple of times on the build. I used it to do a couple of time lapses, which it's really good at doing that. and because it's got a really wide angle of vision, you can get a lot more in the shot. So we've used it a few times for some close-up shots where we need to get a lot more in the picture. And then I've also used it on our European tour, but mainly for action shots. So if we've been riding along on our bikes, for instance, I've had it on the selfie stick out in front of me, and it's been able to capture a really wide angle of view. And it's very good at video stabilization as well. Because it's an action camera, it's really good at keeping that picture still, even when you're moving along. But the only drawback I found with the GoPro is the sound quality is really, really poor. And unless you've got some external microphones on this, you know, it's really no good for sound at all. It's excellent for action video, but as I say, the sound's really rubbish, to be fair. So I don't really use it a lot. Now when you're out and about and you're taking action footage or you're just filming outside, you've got to deal with the wind a lot of the time, and you've got to deal with the wind noise that is generated on a microphone. When the wind's blowing across a microphone, you will all have heard, even in my videos, you'll get that horrible wind noise. And initially some of my early videos have suffered with that, so I've had to try and come up with some ways of trying to combat that. And the way to do that is to have an external microphone with one of these wind socks on. It's affectionately called a dead cat. I mean, this would be a very small cat, but you'll see it in film production, and basically this is to stop some of that wind noise that's generated. So what I'll do is I'll have my phone or my camera plugged in. I'll plug this external mic into the camera, and then this will give me better audio quality, and it'll also cut out some of that noise, that wind noise that's generated. You can also get wind noise reduction for these little lavalier mics as well that I've got clipped on my t-shirt here. I think this is affectionately called a dead mouse, but it does the same thing. It goes over the microphone, and any external wind noise is cut out by using this. And I have used this a few times when I've been outside. I think people will forgive you for having slightly lower resolution video if it's not a, you know, an epic cinematic shot, as long as the audio quality is good. As long as you can understand the voice and the sound, that's the most important thing, I think. People can forgive you for a shot that may be a little bit blurry if the audio is really good. So getting good sound is very important. One of the other things I use the iPhone for is for recording audio. So I may have the camera set up remotely, I may have the camera set up for a close-up shot and I'm standing back for it, or I may have it set up completely away from where I am and I want to record some decent audio close to where I'm standing. So I'll have an app on my phone which is called Voice Record Pro. There's loads of free apps out there for recording audio. I simply turn the app on, I plug an external microphone into my phone, and then all I do then is I sync the audio from the camera to the audio of the microphone, and that's where the clapperboard comes in. And you'll have seen this on movies and that, but what it does is it syncs all of the audio on the various different camera devices. So they'll make a clap, and what that does is that puts an audio spike on the camera microphone, it puts an audio spike on this camera, it puts an audio spike on any other cameras that I've got taking a shot. And then in the edit, once you put all those different bits of video and audio into the timeline on your editing software, all you have to do is line up those spikes on the audio so they're directly underneath each other, and then all your footage is then in sync. If you haven't got a clapperboard, don't worry. You'll see a lot of people, they'll be out videoing and they'll just go like that. That will have the exact same effect. It will put a couple of spikes on the audio for the inbuilt microphone and for the audio that I'm recording here, and you just got to line up those two spikes together in the editing software, and then your footage will be synchronized. I realise that there's a limitation to what you can do on an iPhone, although it is very, very good, perfectly adequate, you know, for you starting out. I wanted to get myself a decent DSLR camera, and one that was recommended was this Canon EOS 750D. I looked at a lot of reviews for DSLR cameras, and this particular one said it was a beginner level, so it's still simple enough to operate, but still had some fantastic features that would give me good quality video. It was a DSLR camera that was geared up really more for video than just taking stills, although it will take absolutely fantastic still shots as well. And a few of the features that I thought were good and of good value to me at my level were things like it's got this screen that you can spin round. So when I'm videoing, if you like, in selfie mode, so I'm looking at the camera, I can see on the screen what the camera's looking at, which is really important. Obviously I'm shooting with the iPhone at the minute. Now I can't see what's displayed on the camera. I have to set that up, take a sample shot, review it, make sure that I've got everything in frame, and then take another shot. So before I can even get into filming, I have to do 2 or 3 shots to set the camera up in the right position to know that I've got everything in shot. Whereas with this camera, I can instantly see on the screen there what the camera's looking at, and I know if I'm in shot, I know if the things in the background that I want to show are also in the shot. So having this little reversible screen here is a really good idea. This is a 24 megapixel camera, so if I'm taking video that I want to zoom right into, I don't lose that resolution and that clarity of the video. I can film some stuff from a distance, and then if I do want to zoom into something, it's still going to be quite clear by the time I've zoomed in, which is really important. This will also shoot HD video. It will shoot 60 frames a second, so if I want to do slow motion video, it's really good for that because I can slow it down to half speed and it's still at the same frame rate that you would normally watch a television program at anyway. So I don't lose that frame rate. The motion on action shots is still really clear, so it's really good for that. So just like the iPhone, it has got a built-in microphone built into the camera, but like I found with filming with the iPhone, the built-in microphone is not always the best audio. Either the camera is too far away from you and the sound is attenuated by the distance, so it's quieter by the time it gets to the camera, or it picks up local noise around the camera and it doesn't pick up you. So I found there's a couple of ways to combat that. Obviously, if you're doing a piece to camera in the studio, I can use the same little lavalier mic that I've got clipped on the t-shirt here, and I can plug that into the camera. That works absolutely brilliant. Or the other way is to use an external microphone like I've got here. This is a Rode video mic. This is a stereo mic, this particular one. So underneath here, it's actually got 2 microphones, and it will pick up the left and right channels. So if you're listening to the video on headphones and you've got stereo headphones, you'll see here this has actually got 2 microphones, one pointing left and one pointing right. So this will pick up the stereo effect, if you like, and especially if you're doing action shots, it's brilliant for that. If you're filming something that's going past you, or an aeroplane or something, anything like that, it's really good to get that cinematic sound going from the left to the right, and if you're listening to it in headphones, it sounds really good. So it will pick up a slightly wider angle of sound than maybe one of the directional mics. This little microphone that I use here, this is a directional mic, so it doesn't pick up very much sound around behind it, which is good, and it tends to concentrate all the sound from the front. So if you want clear audio from the subject that's right in front of you, but you don't want to include anything else around you, then something like this little microphone, a directional microphone, is better for that. So same as we've seen with the little dead cats here, the black sponge that's on this microphone here, this is also a wind deflector. So this will cut down any of the wind noise when we're out and about outside. It's on a little springy mount, so it won't pick up any sort of vibration noises from the camera or from the stand. You know, if you're running around and you're holding the stand, it's not going to pick up any vibration noises from the camera. It's sort of isolated by this little spring. Because one thing I did find with the GoPro as well when I was using that, particularly if you're using it with the internal microphone, which isn't very good quality as I've said, but it does tend to pick up a lot of you know, selfie stick noises and noises from the camera itself. So that's one thing you really want to isolate. I find that this Canon gives me really clear, crystal clear photographs, and with an external microphone it gives me really great audio. It's really clear, and in the post edit I can do a lot with this video. I can slow it down, I can zoom in, the audio's really clear, and this just gives me just really basically a one-up from just using the iPhone. So this is just sort of the next level. It's still beginner level, you know, it's not as fancy as some cameras could be, and it's not particularly expensive as far as DSLRs go as well. This particular camera, brand new, you can still get for under £500. So I think that's a bargain really for what you're getting there. And of course it has all the same functionality as a normal DSLR, so you can interchange all of the lenses and put different lenses on here if you want a wide angle lens, or you know, a zoom lens or something like that. So you've got the same sort of functionality as you have with other DSLR cameras. I don't know all of the functions, to be honest. I'm not a camera expert. I haven't delved into all the ISOs and everything else, but I will at some stage when I get some time to explore photography a bit more. I'm sure that those features will come in handy. For the moment, I generally leave it on a lot of auto settings, auto focus, auto exposure. I know I could fiddle around with it and get some terrific little out of focus shots and really cinematic, but maybe that's something for the future that I can play around with. Now what I have found, and a lot of people have been commenting about it lately, is that some of my video production suffers from camera shake, and a lot of people have suggested that I get a gimbal, you know, in which to hold the phone so it will steady the picture. And I've got a couple of clips of some recent footage that I've had where I've taken it on a selfie stick with either the iPhone or the DSLR camera, and you can see that that image is moving around. I haven't really concentrated on trying to keep the phone or the camera steady at the time, and you do get that camera shake, and it is quite annoying to watch at the time. Now there's a little bit that you can do post-production with that footage. You know, you can do some image stabilization in the editing software. What it will do is it will pick static objects in the image to focus on, and then what it will do is it will zoom in and it will rotate the image left and right, or move the image left and right, rotate it one way or the other to keep those stationary objects in the same position in the frame. And then what it does then is it crops off that little border outside where it's rotated it, the little black bits. It will chop that down and give you a video image back that is a lot more stable. But obviously in doing so, you lose some of the image because you lose a tiny little bit of the peripheral parts that you're looking at in doing that image stabilization, and you'll probably lose a little bit of resolution, so it won't be as clear. You're having to zoom into the picture to crop it, to stabilize it, so the resolution is going to be lower as well, so you lose some of the quality. So I've really thought, well, how can I improve that? Now this camera does have some image stabilization in the lens itself on this DSLR camera, so the video on this does tend to be better. So most of the time the problems I've had is when I've just gone out with my phone and I'm holding it at arm's length like this and I'm shooting myself and the phone's wobbling in my hand like that, and that's where I have most of my problems. If I use this camera in its selfie mode, although it's a lot heavier for me to hold, I do find I get a much more stable image with it, and it's a lot better at processing the video. But it's still not brilliant, it's still not perfect. I've tried using a gimbal, but I find them really hard to set up. I find them very, very awkward to use. They tend to be really difficult to get the right balance and to get them set up perfectly and to get them working well. And I've had a couple of gimbals and just haven't got on with them at all, so I've gone away from that. So what I thought would maybe be the best solution, and it's a recommendation I saw on one of John's videos actually. He's been using this little Osmo Action, and this has just arrived. I've just ordered myself one and I haven't even got it out of the box yet. But there was a bit of footage that he took when we was on our trip, and it was of him and Mandy running up the beach, and he uses it now in his latest titles. And he's got one of these Osmo Actions on a selfie stick, and him and Mandy are running full pelt down the beach, and the video is really stable. It's quite amazing actually, and it's what made me decide to get one of these actually. And I know John uses this little camera a lot in a lot of his video production. So let's get it out of the box and let's have a look at it. As I say, this has only just arrived. It's still got all the little plastic protective film on it. I haven't even played with it yet or had a look at it. So it's very similar to the GoPro, but the benefits are here. This will shoot 4K video, 60 frames a second. So really high resolution and 60 frames a second. So I can zoom right in, I can slow stuff down. This will be so much more sort of clearer than my other camera. So this is the next level up really. It's got a video screen on the back, and it's also got a video screen on the front. So whether you're looking at what you're filming or whether you've got it in selfie mode looking at yourself, I'll still be able to see what the camera's looking at in either orientation, which is really handy. And then the other thing which this does great, which we've just spoke about, is the video stabilization. It's an action camera. It's meant to be bolted to your surfboard or your BMX or your mountain bike, whatever it might be, and you're racing down a mountain or you're surfing some massive waves, and that's what this camera's geared up for. It will take really stable video when it's been shaken about all over the place. It's really good at stabilizing that. So I think that hopefully when I start getting into using this, it's going to improve my video quality. And then for you guys who are watching me, hopefully that's going to improve your viewing experience. It's not going to make you feel seasick when the camera's moving about all over the place. So I'm hoping that's going to improve it. And I had a real bargain with this actually, to be honest. So if you're looking to step up from using a phone, rather than jump to a DSLR camera like this, you could jump to something like this yourself really affordably. I actually looked online. This is brand new out of the box, and I got it off of eBay. It was originally on there for £275, and I've done something a little bit cheeky really. I didn't know it was going to happen, but I put it into my watched list and I put it into my checkout, and I just left it there. I didn't buy it straight away. I left it a couple of days because I just wanted to think about it before I actually hit the confirm and buy it now button. And then lo and behold, I had an email from the supplier of these. They must know that I'm watching it, and they contacted me and they offered me a discount, a 20% discount. So I actually got this for £225. So I think that's an absolute bargain. And with that sort of 50 quid that I managed to save, I then got myself a couple of spare batteries and a little battery charger. Because these batteries, I believe, when you're using them fully, they probably last about an hour or something like that. So if I'm out and about and I want to shoot a lot more video than that, then a couple of spare batteries are going to come in handy. So as I said, I haven't even plugged this in and tried it yet. I'm going to do that over the next week. I'm going to shoot some sample video with it. And then what we can do hopefully is have a follow-up video to this one, in which we can compare the quality of this video to the DSLR and the iPhone video, and then I can give you a direct comparison of how good it is. So in the meantime, if you've got any questions that you want to ask me about any of this equipment that you've seen here, please do leave them in the comments section below. If you've got any questions about YouTube, producing video for YouTube, or anything else that we've discussed here today, also please leave the comments below. If you found any of today's video to be interesting or useful, please do give it a thumbs up. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you're all keeping safe and well, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Cheers! I wanted an action camera and one with a wilder field of view. Wilder? Wider. I've used it for some shots in the workshop where we needed a wilder, so it gets a lot in the shot, which is really good. It's wild field of view. Wild. I keep saying wild. So it gives a slightly wilder. It's got a really good wild. It's got a really good. So let's get it out of the box and let's have a look at it. And then the black sponge, which is on the outside of the microphone, again is one of these wind deflectors So it cuts down any burps.